without my image. I can't wash my car. When a pretty little woman says, hey there, Joe, won't you come along with me? I'll take off your Romeo. She took off my Romeos. She took off my Romeos. Oh, my pretty little woman. She took off my Romeo. She took off my Romeo. She took off my Romeo. Oh, my pretty little woman. She took off my Romeo. I lit up the pipe, sat by the fire. Ooh, was there by the embers. I had no desire. To go back to the bar and drink some more coke. I came down my smoky jacket. She took off my Romeo. She took off my Romeo. She took off my Romeo. Oh, my pretty little woman. She took off my Romeo. She took off my Romeo. She took off my Romeo. Oh, my pretty little woman. She took off my Romeo. She took off my Romeo. She took off my Romeo. Pretty little woman. She took off my Romeo. Oh. Awesome. Oh, okay. Russell Brand's just quickly come on. So maybe before I get into any kōrero, thank you for joining me tonight on a Saturday night and taking time out. Yes, some interesting articles written about me, but we'll get on to that later. But I also wanted to share this. It's a must-watch video of Russell Brand, and is about global farmers' protests. And this is why it's excellent. So he's got a journalist that's come on, and I'll play it now, and I won't take up any more of your time.
There is a populist uprising against globalism happening all over the world. Why are the mainstream media not reporting on it? Could it be because they are the propaganda arm of the centrist state? Hello there, you 5.8 million awakening wonders. Thank you for joining me on this voyage towards discernment, truth, and freedom. Continue to awaken and cultivate the light within you. The truth that you need, the support that you need, the power that you need is already within. All we have to do is learn to navigate these external distractions and obstacles, become individually awakened and then collectively active. And then we can achieve something akin to true democracy, real power, and real freedom. I had a fantastic conversation with Kim Iverson. I touched upon those agricultural protests that are going on at the moment. Sri Lanka, the Netherlands, the Canadian trucker protests. All these things are an indication that ordinary people all over the world are not happy. Would you agree? People are starting to wake up. People are starting to realize that the government is not your friend. Big media is not your friend. Big agriculture is not your friend. These centrist organizations that coagulate around the state and corporate and financial power are not interested in your individual freedom. They want you to be listless little hemorrhoids at the end of their mighty power. And you know what happens to hemorrhoids? They either get shat on or burst. We can't allow that to happen to us. That's why I need you to turn on the notification bell right now, so you know when we make these videos. We try and make a video every single day, and I want you to know when we make them. Kim Iverson was brilliantly insightful on the subject of this globalist movement. Why are the mainstream media not reporting on it? And when they do report on anti-globalist movement, anti-state movements, they always tinge the protesters with rhetoric like, oh, they're racist, they're Nazis, whatever, even if it's people in Sri Lanka rising up against edicts issued by centrist powers that bankrupt their farmers. Are you a farmer? Are you involved in agriculture? Are you a trucker? Are you a member of a union? Are you interested in finding new ways to be free? Well, watch this video. You're going to be even smarter at the end of it. And I know you're smart already. Let me know in the comments below what other things you want to see us talk about. And let me know if you think that Kim is on it. Kim, what do you feel about the emerging anti-globalist movement that has taken shape, notably in the form of the Canadian trucker protests and the various agricultural movements from Sri Lanka to the Netherlands to Germany? What do you feel that the coverage of these populist movements tells us, how they are broadly speaking smeared and portrayed as like far right or ethno-nationalist, which is more difficult to do in the case of the Sri Lankan uprising? And what do you think it says about the agenda of some of these globalist agencies that do seem to have an influence on the way that nations devise policy, particularly around, for example, the changes around fertilizer that would bankrupt a lot of farmers, which would, as a convenient side effect, leave their independent farms open to centralizing forces. And obviously, we've already touched on Bill Gates' acquisition of farmland across the United States of America. And when we spoke to Vandana Shiva on our show, she said the intention of this act is not to reduce emissions, it's to bankrupt farmers so centralized big agricultural forces can acquire the land and dominate the food and agricultural industries. What do you think about these protest movements, and what do you think about the agenda that they are protesting against? And yeah, that's a good enough question, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that I agree with your guest that says that for sure they're using these, they use these kind of things that we can all get behind, right? None of us want the world that, we all want to benefit our environment. We want to live in a clean, healthy environment, healthy planet. We want these things. And so what they do is they weaponize the things we all want together. And this is how it worked even with wars, right? They weaponize our desire for people to be free. They weaponize our love for democracy. And they're weaponizing our desire to have a clean planet. And they instead use those, rather than actually advancing those true causes, they're using them to rile us up. It's something that you brought up already earlier, to make us afraid, right? To instill that fear in us, so that we then feel we must do something about this. We must implement these new mandates, or, and in the case of these farmers, these mandates against using certain fertilizers, or that they must farm in a certain way. In the Netherlands, they want them to use more natural ways of bringing the nitrogen into the soil. And the way they would have to do that is by using a third of their land to plant like legumes, like beans, and in order to bring that into the soil in a natural way. And many of them don't have farms large enough to be able to give up a third of their land. So they use these motivations that we all desire, and they use that to create this fear in order to get us to go along with certain principles, be it war or these various different, right now, global, this is good for the environment, so we must do it. We're in a crisis. The world is going to end. And that saying to us that the world is going to end makes us very afraid. And I think when it comes to the coverage of these protests, I think that actually has shown, more than anything we've seen throughout these last few years and throughout the pandemic, the lack of coverage, I should say, regarding these protests have exposed the fact that the media is no longer reporting on behalf of the people. That the media, instead are now reporting on behalf of the corporate elites, the political class, and they're no longer for the people. When we lose the media as the people, when we lose the media, we've lost the battle between ourselves and between the people and the ruling class. When they control the media, we've lost. And that is what we've seen happen now with these protests. These protests are not being covered. I mean, that's just what we're seeing. We're seeing very little coverage. The trucker convoy, when there was any sort of mainstream coverage of it, it was demonized, as you mentioned, as being right-wing, these fascists, these Nazis, they were racist, they call them all these various different names, without even addressing what they're actually protesting. Instead, they just smear the people as some sort of lunatics rather than actually covering it. So that showed right there, when you've got thousands of people protesting, hundreds of thousands of people rising up and protesting, and the media's spin on it is pay no attention to the large mass of people over there. They're all a bunch of conspiracy theorists. Pay attention to us. Same thing with what's gone on in the Netherlands. We've seen this throughout even Sri Lanka. Really, protests that have been rising up throughout the world with the French Yellow Vest movement. So even prior to the pandemic, prior to many of these things that are going on more recently, the lack of coverage on these protests where people, thousands, even millions of people coming out, like in the case of India, millions of people coming out, and lack of coverage just goes to, I think, exposes more than anything that the media is no longer for the people. And that is an enormous problem. And then there's those of us who report independently. And we're trying to get the news out there. We're trying to get the information out there to the people. And what happens to you and I, right? We get censored in one way or another. We have to tiptoe around the rules and restrictions of these big tech companies where we put our content on. And we're beholden to those restrictions in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not as much because we don't have an editorial team like what happened to me at the Hill. The editorial team that comes along and says, nope, you're not going to be doing that today. We might not have that, but we do have the big tech companies that are also in cahoots that are then telling us what we can and cannot say if we're going to be using their platforms. So we have lost, and we've got to figure out, we the people have lost, unfortunately. And this is why so many championed Elon Musk taking over Twitter, thinking that we would gain something back, that somebody would come along and help us gain something back. And Trump sort of also embodies that idea. He's so against the establishment, so against, he claims to be, at least. He gives the rhetoric. Maybe this time around, if he did win, maybe this time he would really be, because he saw them attack him so viciously. Maybe he didn't understand. I think he maybe underestimated their power and really their power. I mean, he was surrounded, even when he was in office, by people that made him believe they were on his side, and then ultimately they were moles and they were undercutting him at every turn. So people are now looking for those figures because we have no choice. We have no hope, actually, without somebody big and powerful coming in at this point and saying, I'm here to make change. Unless, as you mentioned, if we can somehow, we the people, get together and say we demand the change. But many of us have. I mean, look at how many people are watching your show. How people are wanting this change, but how do we go about doing it? That is a whole different, I don't even know how we do it without these big, somehow, hopefully benevolent person comes through, like a benevolent king, and can grant us our rights back. I mean, but yeah, the protests in particular really exposed that. I mean, we could rise up, we could be in the streets. I mean, in France, they were burning stuff down, and yet, where was the news?
Well, thank you very much for watching that video. I'm so glad that you are a part of this community. Do you think we need a global protest movement that is focused on decentralization, local power wherever possible, ordinary people being involved in politics instead of a corrupt metropolitan professional political class that have no interest or no connection with ordinary people? Let me know what you want. Your will matters. What you think matters. What you feel matters. This is where we can begin a conversation that will not be controlled by those centrist corporate forces. We can have it right now. And if we ever find ourselves in a position where we can't communicate freely on this platform, we will do whatever is necessary to maintain our connection with you, because nothing matters more than that. Here's stuff in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up. Share it around wherever possible. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. They're both pretty good. Oh, I remember that one. Oh, you were a very good video. And sign up to my mailing list right now in case we ever find ourselves in a position where we need to communicate directly with you. More important than any of that is that you please stay free.
Okay, so I'll come in here. You've just seen the heading. You've just seen the heading of this article, and it's I guess the timing is right for listening to Russell Brand's kōrero in his interview with that reporter. But I think the key points that I got out of watching that interview was we're down the creek without a paddle, whānau. No, it's a little bit scary, really, but we knew this, and we won't be overwhelmed by it, because where there's a will, there's a way. We have achieved being unvaccinated to this point. We have pushed back so many barriers. We have been challenged by our whānau. We have been challenged by our partners. We have been challenged by our neighbours, and te mea, and it goes on. And we have survived, right? 2.5 years of this tyrannical government. What more can I say? So the points that I got out, and I want us to think about it when I read the article that's written about me from Radio New Zealand. And I'm just letting you know that all of us that are standing in local government, that are part of the freedom space, that have been fighting against mandates, fighting for our vaccine injured to be heard, fighting for our vaccine injured who have passed to get justice. So, this has been a long battle, whānau, and now we're putting our hands up for local government, and there's a hit list out. And I'm on that hit list. And as you've heard, that counterspin has been taken down. And they mentioned my interview with Counterspin. The journalist is Aidan Miles Morunga. He's local democracy reporter. Now, I don't blame these individual reporters, right? They're doing what their bosses are telling them to do. Now, he sent through a set of questions, which I answered for this article. And in those questions, I sent him a number of evidence, references, talked about and explained what happened to my father while he was, during his second vaccination, where he got his first injury of myocarditis, then his booster where he got pericarditis, and he got pleural effusion with also ulcers around his mouth, down his throat and into his puku. It was horrible. And I said that was, done by the state. He never had these diseases prior to vaccination. Then I sent the reporter the MedSafe report to back up my claims. I sent him Dr. Guy's stuff, and I sent the letter from the Ministry of Health. And I did show you that letter one time, where I was investigating after Dad first got his vaccine injury and my husband's whānau were passing. And sadly, we've just come back from another tangi as well. So it doesn't stop. It just continues and continues and continues. And until we wake up to what's really happening, we're going to still keep on burying our whānau, unfortunately. And I've had first-hand experience on how that feels, and it'll live with me for the rest of my living days. But I will also fight for my papa, fight for a voice for him, fight for justice for him and those like him for the rest of my life. This is not over, folks. But anyway, the important comments I think that come out of Russell Brand is that big pharma are not our friend. Big governments are not our friends. Big tech are not our friends. Big corporations are not our friends. They're all there for themselves, actually. And we need to wake up to that. And a lot of us are waking up to that. And, they use, Russell Brand used Germany, Sri Lanka, and Netherlands as an example of anti-government and anti-globalist protests, right? And there's millions of us around the world. We've seen, we've either been participating in the protest, in the convoys, all of those things, or we've been watching from the sidelines and still, wiping the tori out of our eyes and the pikako out of our ears and the pikako out of our, so we can see clearly and hear. We've got to start tuning in. We've got to start tuning in and sharpening our senses. And he talks again. And I also let the reporter that wrote about me, I says, who's monitoring the monitors? And I said, Dr. Guy Hatchett, who's a scientist, who's been a senior advisor to both National and Labor when they were in governments, is monitoring the monitors. And I says, and we've got departments that should be doing that, right? So, and I sent, I did send a link that showed that MedSafe and our the CALM, which is the monitoring arm for MedSafe, is run out of the University of Otago, and Bill Gates funds that university. So and I did say, it's obviously hasn't registered with mainstream media because there's been, no serious investigation on what's going on. And so we know that our media is captured. We know that our media no longer works for us. The media are no longer the fourth estate. And that's really sad, and that's really unfortunate, because that's a demise of democracy when your media is no longer part of the fourth estate. And we know that what the media has been doing is instilling fear in us, right? And we know that we're trying our best to counter that. And so what's happening is that a lot of us that are openly against corruption, let's be clear, it's not anti-vax, it's anti-Pfizer, anti-corruption. Let's be very, very clear about that. It's moving into a social credit system, which is anti-globalism, absolutely, because it's about centralized power to an unelected few who have already had major influences over our sovereign states around the world. So all of that's coming out. This is not new news, okay, whānau? This is not new news. But the politics is getting really nasty, and the media, who are now the government's lapdog, we know that. It's cost the government $327 million. I mean, how do you calm an angry, ravaging dog? How do you calm a dog? You feed it. You feed it, right? And then, you be nice to that dog. You give it lots of kai, and then that dog turns from a ravaging dog into a lapdog. Well, that's exactly what's happened to our media. Anyway, that's just my personal opinion. So the media is there to support the corporate elite and the political class, the political ruling class. They are not there to report the news. They are not there to report the real news. And I'm going to use this article, this witch hunt after all of us, I guess, freedom fighters, if you want to call us that. I don't know what we are. For me, I'm just standing up for what I believe in, and I'm standing in my own truth. And I will not be bullied by no one. I will not be bullied by no one. But the interview with Russell Brand showed that when we lose the media, we as a people have lost. When we lose the media, and the ruling class has won. But because we are protesting in our millions, right? And so the last bastion for these people to hold on to power is political power. And there's an uprising, right? There's an uprising of a lot of the freedom fighters, ordinary mums and dads, standing for local government. Now they have to smear us, right? They have to smear us to try and discredit us, because that's their job. as lapdogs for the government. And when I read this article out to you, keep in mind that I explained what happened to my father. I'd given letters that I received from the Ministry of Health that stated that people will die of the vaccine and people will be injured. So just remember that this reporter is aware of my backstory, right? My backstory that got me into this kaupapa in the first instance, and now the it's like a witch hunt. It's like a smear campaign, but I'll share it. I'm going to share this with you now, and then we'll just talk about it as I'm reading through it. So just bear with me, whānau. Okay, so Hamilton City Council mayoral candidate denies affiliation to Voices for Freedom. I'll just bring myself into this so you can see me. And so when they write that as a heading, Hamilton City Council mayoral candidate denies affiliations to Voices for Freedom movement. That word denies implies that I'm lying, and I'm not. I've never met the leaders. I've heard of Claire Dix, but I've never met her or the other two leaders. And, you know, when they ask me that question, that really is what they're after, because there's a smear campaign. They're going after Voices for Freedom as well. But anyway, here we go. I'll read the article. It's written by Aidan Miles Moringa, and it says, a veteran Waikato politician who is hoping to be Hamilton City's next mayor is denying she's linked to anti-COVID-19 vaccination and anti-mandate group Voices for Freedom. Well, that's tika and that's pono. I am not associated to them. Donna Pokere-Phillips, who is co-leader of the Outdoors and Freedom Party, said she was not part of a coalition for any local government candidacy. Her comments come following revelations this week that Voices for Freedom has been urging supporters to stand for local office but not to declare their affiliation. Well, I wasn't aware of that. Although Pokere-Phillips denies having affiliation with the Voices for Freedom, she regularly shares content across her social media platforms from other anti-vaccination campaigners such as Chantal Baker and Liz Gunn. She has also appeared on the far-right conspiracy theory website Counterspin Media, which promotes anti-vaccination messages. And in a Facebook post earlier this year, she claimed up to 3,000 people had died due to vaccine and booster, making reference to MedSafe safety report. The report included an analysis of observed versus expected deaths relating to COVID vaccine, and we've been through those reports on many of occasions. However, Te Whatu Ora, Health New Zealand spokesperson, told Local Democracy Reporting that the claim was inaccurate. In essence, the report shows that the majority of deaths amongst vaccinated people are coincidental, as would be expected when most of the population is vaccinated based on the sheer weight of numbers. Now, here's the thing, and I sent this reporter, Dr. Guy Hatchett's report, and, you know, if that reporter had done his homework, he would go in and see there's a lot of science and he's a scientist, Dr. Guy Hatchett is a scientist, that there's a lot of science around his concerns. And if you notice that when my Facebook page gets restricted, or I'm in Facebook jail for a little while, it's usually when I share Dr. Guy Hatchett's reports. So he's definitely onto something, right? And what Dr. Guy Hatchett has shown in 2021, between February and November of 2021, that when the rollout happened, we had a curve like that, right? So we had a curve like that when the rollout happened. Simultaneously, we had the same curve of deaths. And at that time there were only 2,000 deaths because we didn't have the booster. And the curve of excess deaths coincide with the curve of the rollout. And what Dr. Guy Hatchett had done is he had looked at previous years, and those were excessive to all the previous years. So basically what he was saying is, where did those 2,000 deaths come from? You could only argue that they come from, because the curve was the same as the rollout of the first and second vaccine. Okay, and now there's an extra 1,000 because we've had the boosters. And Dr. Guy Hatchett, not that I'm aware of, has not done another analysis of the rollout of the booster. So I'm waiting for the same analysis. And we should see with the rollout an excess of deaths, and he compares to previous years. So he won't compare it to last year, he'll compare it to the previous years before that. And that's how you are able to tell that something is seriously wrong. Now, even if I was wrong, even if I misinterpreted what the MedSafe data was sharing, and it's there in black and white. Here's the issue. My father and others like my father have died of their vaccine injuries. There are people out there suffering with their vaccine injuries, and we should have had an investigation, and there's been zero. That in itself is a red flag. And I know that these reporters cannot report on vaccine injuries or vaccine deaths. So our media has lost all credibility and all integrity. But anyway, where was I? I'll carry on with this article. However, Te Whatu Ora Health New Zealand spokesperson told Local Democracy reporting that the claim was inaccurate. In essence, the report shows that the majority of deaths among vaccinated people are coincidental. That's not science. How scientific is coincidental? Dr. Guy Hatchett did an analysis, and that's what he's come up with. That's science. What does Catherine say? MSS failed by the government. Fueled by the government, is absolutely trying to discredit the freedom advocates. They're obviously scared of the truth coming out. Yeah. Anyway, I'll carry on with this article. So, coincidental. E kida. Okay, further, of the 171 deaths reported up to the 30th of June, right? That's it. So they haven't stated as part of CAM, but I'm assuming it is. 137 of these were determined to be unrelated to vaccinations. Now, I've gone into those reports, and I don't know. It's not unrelated, because they haven't been investigated properly, and I don't know. Now, here's an issue with my father. He did get COVID-19 when he did go into hospital. He had fluid building up in his lungs, and he was struggling to breathe, and they tested him before he went in on a rat test, and he had COVID. He didn't suffer too badly with COVID, and he was sent home, and But if he had died within that 28-day period, he would have died of COVID. So he would have been one of these stats. But because he died months later after his COVID, they could not class him as a COVID death. So that's how, look, I'm not a statistician, but I knew just by my experience with my father that the timing of his death would have been the difference between being a COVID death and being a death from some other horrid disease, which was created by his vaccine injuries. Anyway, sorry, I do go wee wah wah, but I'll carry on. So 137 of these were determined to be unrelated. That's incorrect. Now that's incorrect. That's deceiving. They did not investigate. They do not know what they do not know. There's not enough evidence, okay. And then they say, and the 3 deaths have been considered to have a link to the vaccination. So, what they do is they try and talk it down. They try and talk it down. You can't talk down the many vaccine injuries. You can't talk down the many people that have died days, weeks, months after their first, second, or third booster. You can't talk that down. You can't justify that. And the media, by not investigating themselves, are part of a genocide. I absolutely, wholeheartedly believe that, because I've experienced the worst experience any person could ever experience. I've lost something so dear to me, someone so dear to me. And no one can ever give my father back. But I will seek justice for him. And while I'm seeking justice for him, I will get justice for others. This is too important for me anyway. I'll carry on, Whānau, because there's more. There is more. One of which has been confirmed by the coroners related to the vaccine so far. Well, here's the thing. Remember, I did a report where our coronial system was run to the ground. On average, we had about 340 coronial inquests a year back in 2018 and 2019. I think it went to about 280. Look, I'm just pulling these numbers out of my head because I'm just talking about and reflecting on a live that I'd done on our coronial system. So I didn't plan on talking about it, but because they brought the coroner up, then in 2020, 2021, we were getting 28 or 26 inquests. So and now they're trying to boost the coroners and the judges that sit in there and staff that sit in there, because they ran it to the ground. So why here's the issue that doesn't make sense to me. And I said this when I was doing the lives. Don't quote me on the numbers, Whānau. You got to go away and do your own research. I'm just pulling them out of the air. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, but it's a guesstimate, right? Here's the thing. You're coming into a pandemic. You would think the government, if they cared about us, if they were concerned about us, that they would have bolstered our coronial system, but instead it went the opposite way. And you know that because of how many inquiries there were. So that's a red flag in itself. But go away, Whānau, the information's out there. 2018, 2019, they were the average coronial inquests. Instead of boosting our coronial system for this pandemic, actually it went the complete opposite, and we only went down to 28 or 1 year, I think 26 or something like that another year. And so our coronial system plummeted. So we had no ability to investigate anyway. Our whole system is, sorry to say. Anyway, you can see this, and we know that Hannah and Calvin were arrested, and they've been done for what is I can't remember the name of the act. If anyone's got the name of the act They've been done. Oh gosh. Anyway, sorry, whānau. My brain's a bit tired, and I've just got to think about what they've been done for. I'll use my phone. But anyway, I'll carry on. Pokere-Phillips, who is also trying to win a seat on the Kirikiriro Māori ward, has a long political history. She was an unsuccessful candidate in general elections for the Alliance in 1999, the Opportunities Party in 2017, and Te Pāti Māori in 2020. She is campaigning on a platform to keep local assets in local hands. Yes! This government is hell bent on bringing forward the Three Waters reform of our waste, storm and drinking water while ignoring the firestorm of opposition, Pokere-Phillips said. Hamilton needs a fearless leader to take on this government who wants to steal our assets. I am that leader. She is also pushing for social housing program. We have a housing crisis. Over 1,000 families do not have a place to call home. Current leadership have stated our civic building is not fit for purpose and want to sell it. I will utilise this asset to rehouse these families. Pokere-Phillips said mana whenua needed to be involved at all levels of decision making, and she would advocate to establish a joint decision making process which puts our community in the driver's seat. I will ensure ratepayers' money is not captured, creating communities of haves and have-nots. So that's it, folks. That's that's the article, and there's been a lot of us that are running, especially those of us that are running in the mayoral campaign, have had articles done on us. It's a witch hunt. It's a smear campaign, and it's only telling one side of the story. So anyway, whānau, kia ora Val, kia ora Nikki, kia ora Danielle, Paul. Let's go through some comments. What have we got here? I know, right? They did the same to my aunt when my uncle died at home. I was staying with them. My aunt didn't mind, but I was really offended as they had been murdered or something. Ka aroa, he'd been really sick. Ka aroa, Nikki. Aroha mai. What does Val say? The newspaper printed her children's face in the paper without her permission or knowledge until one of her friends said to her, have you read this? Oh, what's that for? I've missed something. That's what happens when you go backwards. Kia ora, Stacey, Muriel, Kui. Thank you for tuning in. Paul, kia ora, koutou. Hang on, I'll just get rid of that. Now, I'm just going to Google what's been happening with counterspin so I can, it's a long act. I can't even remember it. Counterspin. Okay. So you can see I'm in my boudoir. So I've shifted. It allows my darling to listen to his TV uninterrupted, and allows me to do my lives whenever I want to. And so, yeah, so police arrested and charged Hannah and Calvin. Hang on. Sorry, Fan, I'm just bringing it up so I can give you what they are doing them for, because yeah, I hope they've got good lawyers. But anyway, the founder and host of Far Right. Why do they always call it Far Right? Why is everything far right? Eh? Far right or far left, for goodness sake. You know, and that's what Russell Brand said, and the reporter, sorry, I don't know the reporter's name, he was interviewing, and, you know, she was saying that, you know, they try and demonize people, calling them racist, you know, calling them real derogatory names to try and put the public off these people. It's a smear campaign. But anyway, the founder and host of far-right media outlet Calvin Alp and Hannah Spira have reportedly been arrested and charged with distributing an objectionable publication. And it's Objectionable Publication Videos and Films Act. It's quite a long act, and I went in there to just see what the purpose of the act was. Anyway, they did not name Alpin Spear, but confirmed that arrests had been made following online posts saying Alpin Spear had been detained. So, do they name the actual act? The couple were involved in the anti-mandate movement, including the 23-day occupation in Parliament grounds that ended in police raids. Alp, a former soldier who had multiple failed political campaigns, launched Counterspin Media in 2021. On Thursday night, a Twitter user uploaded a screenshot from Counterspin's Telegram online social media channel, which announced the arrest. The post uploaded by Counterspin reporter claimed the pair, along with an unnamed Counterspin director, had been arrested. Equipment, including computers, phones, cameras, were reportedly seized. Within hours, new posts claimed the duo had been released. So, yeah, I'm just going to go into Facebook. So there's a lot happening with the media, a lot happening with the police, and a lot happening with this government. So we don't feel like the police are there for us as well. We don't feel like the media is there for us, and our government's not there for us. So the only way we can ensure we have people that are going to stand up with integrity, stand up in their own truth, and be principled is by putting our hands up in the local and central government. Now, I've always said that we need to clip the wings of central government, and we need to empower our local government and empower our local communities. And, you know, I think that that's only fair enough. Hey, okay. I'm just going to tune in to my now. I also received a clip from a young woman. I'm just sorry, Fan. I'm just tuning into my Facebook page while I'm talking to you. Won't be a tick. So I've got a number of authentication processes just in case. It's just my own security, right? Just in case whānau, my own whānau, might get in and pretend to be me, or worse, someone I don't know. So I've got to go through all these authentication processes where only I can log in. So even to get onto my own Facebook page, my husband can't get onto my own Facebook page. Only I can access it. So and that's just important for me in regards to security. Hey. So hang on, whānau. Just got to do an authentication. And I just wonder too, the fact that they've written about me, the fact that they've said that I've been interviewed on Counterspin, whether that makes me a target as well. 2/4. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. That particular act, I knew it was around when I was at law school, but it was an act that I wasn't even interested in. So, Who knows? What are you guys saying? Okay, I'll just bring up this comment. What's that old saying? Oh, yeah, make it long-winded, have big words like wheelbarrow, and they'll run away because it'll scare them. Anyway, kilda. Okay, so what I want to do, I also want to share a video, and it broke my heart actually. And Mahalino, I did an interview of Mahalino, and this is Mahalino. So these are the whānau that have been stuck in house arrest over in Tokelau. And Ross Ardern, Jacinda Ardern's father, you got to remember he was part of Dawn Raids, right? When the Dawn Raids happened, and he's now still bullying our Pacifica whānau. I mean, because that's nothing but brutal bullying, eh? So he set all of that up. But what I want to do, whānau, is I want to share this little clip as well. It's sort of, I know I'm jumping over to another kaupapa, but before I jump into that video, I just want to let you know what act that Calvin and Hannah have been arrested under. Counterspin Media press release. Oh, hang on, here's Sherry. She's probably beaten me to the gun. I'll just bring it up, Sherry. Hang on. Actually, there it goes. Counterspin Media press release, 26th of August 2022. A sustained and orchestrated attack campaign has been waged by the state against Counterspin Media. The goal to carefully construct a narrative for public consumption that paints Counterspin in the worst way possible. It is our belief that the recent arrests of the executive producers and hosts of Counterspin, Calvin Alp and Hannah Spera, to silence the one media organisation that stands true to its no nonsense facts and evade. Thank you, Cherie, for sharing that. Really, really appreciate it. So, okay. Sorry, whānau. When I open too many pages, my my computer gets a bit slow, and yeah, I tend to have a few problems with it. So here's another article. And this is from the police. The pair charged under the Films, Videos and Publications Classification Act. So I'll write it in the comments so we won't forget it. It is the Films, Videos and Publications Classification Act. Statement to be attributed to a police spokesman. The police arrested two people in Christchurch in relation to the alleged offences under the Films, Videos and Publications Classification Act 1993. A man has been charged with 2 counts of distributing objectionable publication and 1 charge of failing to carry out obligations in relation to a computer search. A woman has been charged with distributing an objectionable publication failing to carry out obligations in relation to a computer search and obstructing police. They have been bailed to appear in Christchurch District Court on the 31st of August 2022. As these matters are due before the courts, please have no further comment. So that's it in a nutshell, folks, and I'll just copy that link and I'll put it in the comments so that you can have a record of it, basically. So that's it. That's it in a nutshell. So we'll just wait to hear back from them. Now, the purpose of that particular act, it looks at publications and whether or not they are objectionable, and if they describe or depict or express matters such as sex, horror, crime, cruelty, or violence in such a manner that the availability of the publication is likely to be injurious to the public good. So that's the purpose of the act. Okay, whānau? So I'll just copy that and put it in the comments as well so that you can see what the purpose of it is. And then we'll keep an eye, we'll watch this space, whānau. Keep an eye. If anyone hears of any updates, please let me know. Because, you know, all of this is timely, The media is on sync with the police, which are on sync with this government. Wow. 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 What more can I say? Anyway, going back to, I want to show you this, and I know that, hey, because I can go as long as I want now because I'm not competing with my darling. I'm in my own room. So I've still got a lot of views on. So my daughter just does not understand why and how so many people seem to stay on my lives, and I said I don't know either, but I guess I bring up some interesting topics. But I just want to share this video that Liz Gunn had sent me. And just want to acknowledge all our warriors out there, you know, Liz Gunn, and, you know, all of you guys. I mean, you're warriors in your own right. We have to stay together. We are a whānau, and, you know, we can only rely on each other at the moment. Like, I don't trust the media. I don't trust the health system. I don't trust the justice system. You know, I've lost my faith in this whole damn system, unfortunately. So I want to be part of it so that we can rebuild. You know, it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. We can rebuild. So I'm going to click into this video. It will actually bring tears to your eyes, whānau, and as soon as I get it ready, then I'll share with you guys so that you can see it. And it's heartbreaking. And like I said, this is a continuation. And thank you to the likes of Liz Gunn, I think Counterspin and Chantel Baker. All those media outlets have been supporting the whānau over in Tokelau. And this young woman's name is Gypsy Patalisio, and she is Mahalino's daughter. So I am going to share with you now, whānau. Is it going to let me share? Oh, sorry, it's just started. How do I stop it? Oh, okay, I'm taking it back. Oh, my computer's flashing. It's flashing, so it's telling me it's not letting me. It's not gonna allow me to share. So I'm not going to share it because it's doing crazy stuff on me. So either the algorithms or I can even see when I'm talking that they may want to shut my page down. But anyway, Gypsy Patelicio's heartbreaking message for Jacinda. As a young 15-year-old girl, she has been placed under forced indefinite house arrest. And remember, they've been in house arrest for a year already. And I can't play it whānau because it won't allow me. So I'm just going to shut that down, unfortunately. But what I might do is I might see if I can copy the link and put it in my post. Put it in my comments. And that way you might be able to check it out yourself. And yeah, very sad. So I guess that's me for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Welcome to my boudoir. Thank you all. Nikki. Oh, you have seen. Nikki says she's seen Gypsy's video. Yeah, it's pretty bloody tragic and pretty sad, but they wouldn't let me share it. So they won't let you copy the link either. Link into it. Okay. They obviously, I mean, this is what's happening. When they shut us down, when they try and do smear campaigns against us, right? What it does the complete opposite to what they're trying to achieve. It makes them look as guilty as shit, doesn't it? Just says report. Well, I did. Okay. It says Facebook, Free NZ Media. Yeah, okay. They're stopping me from sharing it. Whānau is headed Tukalau. Maybe go on to Liz Gunn's page, possibly. You might be able to see it there. Some of you have seen it, and it's really tragic. An update about these young ones. I mean, just imagine the trauma, the mental anguish, the hell that they are going through for being locked up for for not quite a year. We were locked down for weeks and that sent us pōrangi, right? Yeah. I managed to go onto the Free NZ page cool. That's cool, whānau. Okay, well, that's me. I'm going to tune out tonight. Thank you again for tuning in on a Saturday night. Sorry, I was a bit wee wah wah all over the place, but that's me. I tend to do that, and I do want to the articles about our coronial system being run to the ground, and now we have a new judges, coronial judges that have come on board, and new staff to support those coronial judges. But too little, too late. But that's a red flag in itself. Everything. There's so many red flags. It's not funny. How this government can sleep at night, I just don't know. The fact that they know that they've caused deaths and caused harm and caused injury, that those people that have passed, normally they go and visit those that have harmed them, eh? Well, that's what we believe anyway. So, a haunting they may go to seek their own justice. We as Māori believe in those things. But anyway, that's just, I shouldn't have said that. It's a bit naughty of me saying it, but, they do have a way of seeking their own justice. And I know what the government's done is tantamount to state murder, as far as I'm concerned. It's tantamount to state murder. That's what they did to my father and many others. So, not the best way of ending a live, but it's a reminder that we're dealing with some major, serious issues. And I've got, reporters trying to witch hunt us and, trying to smear our credibility. And that's exactly what they do. But it does not faze me. It does not faze me. I think it was, considering the attack, I've read other articles where they've gone crazy on some of our freedom fighters and made them out to be, well, that's the aim, is to discredit and disrespect people. And I'll just carry on. And what it does is it makes me want to fight harder and go stronger. That's what it makes me do. It doesn't weaken me. It actually does the complete opposite. Anyway, kia pai tō pō. Have an awesome night with your whānau or wherever you are. And thank you for taking this time out to listen to me. Ka kite anō, kia ora.